Welcome to the Movie Film Show. I'm Carl, and today we're back on the hunt for a WWE film starring a WWE superstar that's actually pretty good. So far we've been unsuccessful. We've had 5 or 6 attempts. Hasn't gone so well, but maybe today is the day because the contender today is Countdown. I gotta say, I was pretty disappointed when I found out that this wasn't the movie version of the daily UK-based TV show called Countdown. That would be a good movie. No, this version of Countdown was made by the WWE Films and stars WWE Superstars Dolph Ziggle Kane. Now, this film was not easy to track down. It wasn't on any streaming service. I couldn't buy it in any local store. I ended up having to go through a third-party seller on Amazon to find a DVD copy of it. Going back in time with this one. Back to old school stuff. And even then, the DVD, when it arrived, it wasn't said on the description, but when it finally arrived, it's a Swedish version of the film. All the writing on it is Swedish. Back stuff is Swedish for the most part, apart from a few lines from critics. And when I booted up the DVD, I got 4 language options: Danish, Norwegian, Swedish, and Finnish. None of which were English, so I didn't speak any of those languages. But I took a gamble on Danish and hoping that the movie would still be in English. Thankfully, the menu was in English and there were just Danish subtitles on it. When I got the DVD, the one English line on the back gave me a lot of hope, because according to Bulletproof Action, there is a new Dolph in Action Town. So if that doesn't get you excited for this movie, what will? So basically this movie, it's like a terrible attempt at a CSI knockoff. It's basically the same as a terrible crime/cop show stretched over 90 minutes. So at the start of the movie, there's a typical Eastern European bad guy, and along comes Dolph Ziggler and his buddy, and he wants a meeting with the Eastern European bad guy. Now the bad guy suspects there's something not right with Dolph Ziggler's partner. He suspects he's a cop, so Ziggler pulls out his gun and shoots his partner. Gaining the guy's trust along the way, they go out the back and the Eastern European bad guy is arrested. Then after the guy's been arrested, Ziggler's partner comes along and punches him. The guy was clearly expecting to be shot. He had a bulletproof vest, but for some reason he's pissed off at Ziggler for shooting him. He says he almost killed him. So this leads to Ziggler getting thrown off the force, or at least suspended. You know, like in all cop movies. So Ziggler now off the force, has to hand in his gun and his badge. But Ziggler goes home, and his wife comes home later on, finds Ziggler sitting on the bed reading a story, but he's not reading it to anyone because it turns out his kid was actually killed a few years ago. That was a big part of the story apparently. But the next day, Ziggler's called into the police station. He goes in and he finds that there's been a ransom sent in. A kid has gone missing, a ransom is set, but they want Ziggler to deliver it. The guy who sent in the ransom demands that Ziggler has to be the one to deliver it. So the drop-off zone is at a WWE show, you know, because you gotta get that product placement in. So 20 minutes into the movie, for the first time in a WWE film that I've seen, the WWE shows are actually featured. They show some backstage stuff, they show some of the superstars warming up for the show, and then Ziggler turns up at the arena. And of course, he is a WWE superstar himself. He wouldn't be able to just walk through the crowd, so they have like a POV camera going through the place. But then they get to a section where Ziggler is going to find a seat, clearly in the staged area. He has to drop off the bag of money. So Ziggler drops off the bag of money. They have a GPS tracked. Some guy comes along, collects it. He's the bad guy, the guy who set the ransom. And they track him all the way to the toilets where he switches over the bags. So when the bad guy leaves the toilets with a new bag that isn't GPS tracked, he's approached by a cop and he shoots him, leading to Ziggler chasing him. So Ziggler chases him through the backstage area, and this is where Rusev, a WWE superstar, pushes Ziggler into a wall and takes his gun, thinking he's the bad guy. Ziggler says, "I'm a cop." He says, "Show me your badge," and Ziggler super kicks him because, you know, you gotta get that in there. So Ziggler chases the bad guy down. They end up in the rafters, and Ziggler ultimately shoots the guy. The other cops come along, and they just let Ziggler walk away after shooting the guy in the head, even though he was suspended as a cop. But there you go. Ziggler shoots this guy in the head, and he goes off and leaves. But the female cop, who's like the head cop in this scenario, she chases after Ziggler in the street. Says to him, "What the hell are you doing?" And he says, "I'm going to get the kid, basically, and you waste your time chasing after me." They now pair up. They're now a buddy team, even though he's suspended. And they clearly state he's suspended, but she's going to help him out anyway. The two of them, they don't want to waste their time getting warrants, so they're going to vigilante it. So now we have our premise. There's a kid, he's missing, there's a countdown timer, hence the title of the movie, and there's a Two people going against the head cop to solve it on their own time for some reason, rather than getting the whole police force on it. Also, Kane is the head of police for some reason. So when the guy was shot, when the bad guy was shot, they took a picture of him on the ground and you can see all his tattoos underneath his t-shirt. So clearly they have to go find who did the tattoo. So they end up at a tattoo parlor and the guy says that they're not open at the door. So Ziggler does the only logical thing. He kicks the door down and beats the shit out of everybody. Yeah. So he beats the shit out of everybody and then they're very receptive to him then and they just answer all his questions. They give him some advice and he ends up at the Russian consulate, I think this is the next stage he goes to, and a guy asks him if he has any weapons, so Ziggler kicks the shit out of him and then ends up going up through the consulate and finds the head guy, the Russian consulate guy, and kicks the shit out of him. Stabs him in the leg with a pen until he gets the answers that he wants. You know, because you're supposed to believe Dolph Ziggler's a badass now. You know, he's just kicking the shit out of people for no reason. I guess they're going for like a Steven Seagal type of thing. In the meantime, while Ziggler's kicking the shit out of people for no reason, his partner's gone off and she's just walking down random streets asking people if they recognize the kid. And miraculously, she comes across someone who does recognize the kid. But the person who recognizes him doesn't speak English, but she does have a kid who speaks English. So the kid and the Eastern European woman bring the woman cop to this guy. Very good explanation. So this guy turns out to be the kid's father, and he thought the kid was being sent back to Russia, but it turns out he was kidnapped and he didn't know. So from the father, they get the name of the kid, and they also get the name of the guy who abducted him. So then Ziggler and his partner team up again, and as they're going down the road, they're pulled over by the guy that Ziggler shot at the start of the film, who was his partner at the beginning of the film, who clearly is now Ziggler's nemesis. So they arrest Ziggler. They bring him in for questioning because they think he's got something to do with it now. For some reason, Kane's watching the whole questioning on his laptop, but there's no explanation as to why. I think they were teasing that he was the bad guy, but you know, he's going to do the evil turn type of thing, but it would have been too obvious and crappy, you know, not good enough for this high stakes movie. After Ziggler realizes they're wasting his time, there's only an hour left on the countdown, the kid is running out of time. Ziggler is the only thing he knows. He kicks the shit out of everybody, every police person. He goes through the building one by one, kicking the shit out of anybody who gets in his way, including Kane. Then he rappels down a window cleaner man to get out of the building. It sounds far more exciting than it actually was. So Ziggler escapes the police station after kicking the shit out of everybody. And now him and his partner go to the place where the man who put the ransom in, they now have his name, so they go to the place where he worked thinking that's where the kid's going to be. But he's not there. And as they go to leave, the Eastern European bad guy from the very beginning turns up with his goons. This leads to a car chase, which ultimately leads to an explosion and the Eastern European bad guy blowing up. I think I zoned out at some point because somehow they figured out that the kid was at the police station all along with the bomb on him. So Ziggler and his partner sneak into the police station, get into the basement, and Ziggler finds the kid in a secret wall compartment. Yep, secret wall compartment. So Ziggler grabs the kid and runs upstairs. Don't forget, the last time he was in this police station, he just kicked the shit out of everybody. But everyone seems to forget that. And when Ziggler's running through with this kid and telling everyone to evacuate, they just listen to him. Kane comes along, realizes that Ziggler has the kid with the bomb, and he tells everybody to evacuate as well, that Ziggler knows what he's doing. So Ziggler brings the kid upstairs, and you think he's going to defuse the bomb, right? Well, no. What he does is, he gets the kid out of the vest just about, and with like 30 seconds to spare or 3 seconds to spare, they run out of the building and then the bomb goes off anyway. But it's a fairly small bomb and just breaks a few windows. Doesn't blow up the whole building, even though they evacuated the whole building. So that's a thing. And then the bald guy from the start, who was shot by Ziggler, who I said is his nemesis, says to Ziggler, "How did you know where the kid was?" So Ziggler kicks the shit out of him, punches him in the face again. And Kane says, "I didn't see anything." And then Ziggler walks off in slow motion just before a freeze frame and a cut to black. Ziggler has saved the day and kicked the shit out of everybody. Countdown. So it's a typical action movie with a lot of over-the-top fight scenes, for no apparent reason. There's also a scene I completely forgot about where Ziggler goes to the Eastern European bad guy from the start. He just turns up at his house to get information, but he doesn't ring the doorbell and say, hey, I need information. He doesn't walk up to him and say, hey, I need your help, or hey, I'm going to blackmail you unless you give me help, or do anything. He doesn't say anything to the guy. He just uses a fiber wire on the guy's neck and starts choking him. And the guy can speak very clearly when the guy's doing it, but it's just another case of Ziggler's character kicking the shit out of somebody for no reason. So have we finally done it? Found a WWE film starring a WWE superstar that's actually pretty good? Hell no. This might even be the worst one so far.